Hey everybody, this is John with Christian Country Living. Today we're going to look at the draft control on the Ashland Deluxe wood stove, and we're also going to look at ways that we can get air underneath the firebox. Stay tuned. I've really enjoyed the draft control on this Ashland Deluxe stove here. It's really pretty intuitive. So the first thing that you're going to notice here is that there's this knob, and it's got some numbers. It starts with off and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you'll also notice here that it says cooler on the left side and warmer over here, and that's pretty descriptive because that's exactly what it does. You want your fire to be warmer, turn it to the right. You want the fire to be cooler, turn it to the left. Okay, so what is this knob actually doing? Well, this knob here goes through the middle of the stove here, and it's connected to this thermostatic spring control back here, right there. I'll give you another shot of it. And what this knob does is it controls how much air is being let into the stove. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate this. We're going to take the knob from 7 down to 4. I'm going to turn that with my right hand, and I'm going to let you watch the other hand here. So we're turning it down to 4. Okay, see what a difference that made? And see, now that we're at 4, we're actually all the way closed down. And the reason that we're all the way closed down is because the stove has said, hey, for what you set the knob at, it looks like the fire is too hot, so we're going to starve the oxygen for the stove so that it'll cool down a little bit. And you can almost think of this as kind of both the acceleration pedal and the cruise control. And I say that because we can accelerate by turning it up warmer. Now we're at 7 again, and remember we were closed just a minute ago. Well, now we're open quite a bit now, so we can draft air in through the draft tube. Okay, now going back to as our cruise control here, I mean, essentially you can set this and you can leave it at a certain point, and so long as it has a reasonable amount of fuel inside, I don't know if you can see through the reflections there, as long as it has a reasonable amount of fuel, it's going to pretty much maintain whatever temperature on the dial that you set it at, not temperature but number here, and it's going to be a little bit relative to your fuels and stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. It's pretty neat because this thermostatic, whatever you call it, spring here, it really is a nice safety feature for the stove. So let's just say that I'm going out and I really want to make sure that the stove doesn't overheat, and really I don't have to worry about it with the Ashland Deluxe, because so long as I'm not setting my knob up here, if I'm setting it something like say 6 or maybe even 7 or 5, then I know that the stove is going to reach a certain temperature and it's not going to overfire. Okay, overfiring on the Ashland Deluxe is it has some different standards, but for regular operation with this door closed and with the oven door closed and running on wood, 500 degrees or higher is considered overfiring. Okay, so I know that if I say set this at 5, I know that this is not going to overfire, because if you look at this here, I mean, I don't hardly have a finger's width in there. So I know that if it gets much hotter than where it's at right now, which just so happens to be about 360, I know that it will begin closing that spring back here. It'll begin closing that down gradually. And this is really neat, guys, because it kind of provides almost an automatic way to control the stove, yet all of this is non-electric. And so another application of this is that when you open up your firebox to add wood, it's going to cool down the firebox a little bit, and so the spring back there is going to sense that, and it's going to open just a little bit to try to maintain that temperature. It's really neat. Okay, now that we've talked about the draft control, let's look underneath here and see what our additional options are. Okay, so here's the ash pan door, and you just open it up here. Now the first thing you're going to notice in here is these sliding things. They're called booster knobs, and ooh, they're hot. That's one thing they haven't quite figured out about this stove yet, is that you have to wear gloves just to touch it when it gets to a certain degree. Anyway, I'm just going to be quick about it. If you open these up, that exposes the hole, the peg for the shaker. And I'll just show you this here. And you can, I'm not going to do it now, but you can shake each grate. Okay. So my point in showing you this booster knob is that when you open those and then close the ash pan door back up here, then it's going to add air to the fire. So it's going to be coming from underneath those grates. And I'll show you the grates in another video. So look at the fire, how it is now. Now I'm going to open the ash pan and I'm going to close these knobs. Close them down. Okay, I'm going to close the ash pan door. And now you can see it looks like perhaps the fire has died down just a little bit because it's getting a little bit less air. But I'll tell you where the money is at on this. If you really want to get a fire going fast, and if you even just want to boost the temperature very quickly, then just open the ash door. You can even just kind of crack it like that, about an inch or so open, and the air just pours in. And even if you close down the damper part way or most of the way, it's really going to be feeding that air. And I'll turn the damper off temporarily. Don't recommend that you do that, but I'm just showing you here. And you see all of the air that's pouring through there. Okay, now watch when I close the ash pan door here. So you can see the flames are a little bit lazier now. I'm going to open it back up. Now you can see it's a lot more vigorous. So we're going to open this back up to 6 or 7. The manual does caution you. They really don't recommend running at, the higher numbers like 8 and 9 and so forth. Simply because they say that, using the accelerator pedal on your car analogy, the higher you go, the more risk you have of losing control of your car, or in this case, your stove. And so they just don't want you to get in a situation where you're gonna, where the stove is going to have a chance to overfire. So just bear that in mind. And obviously anything you see in this video is not an endorsement of a certain method, or I'm not telling you how to do something. Okay, this is your responsibility how you choose to run your stove. I'm just showing you some things for how I operate the stove. Okay, so one more thing that we should mention about both the booster knobs and just having the ash pan door open, which again allows air to get underneath the grates, and it's really great for boosting the temperature really fast. But for that reason, it is unsafe and highly not recommended to leave the stove unattended while you have either of these open or having the ash pan door open. And that's for obvious reason, because the fire can easily overfire and get away on you if you leave either the ash pan door open or the booster knobs open. So it's fine to do when the stove is attended and you're around, but do not do that if you plan to be away or you're not going to be able to monitor the stove. Another nice application of these booster knobs, and more so just opening the ash pan door, because that's really where the money's at, so to speak, is that a lot of times when you pull out this knob, which allows more heat into the oven side of the stove, it's going to drop the temperature reading, and also then when you go and you open up the oven, it's going to drop the temperature maybe 20-30 degrees more. So in addition to just making sure that you have your temperature on your stove, you know, maybe 75 degrees hotter than you need it before you actually bake, again, due to the drop when you pull out the knob and also when you open up the oven door. So just say that you didn't want to do that, or you needed to boost the temperature back up and like, oh, it's at 380, I need it to be at 400. No problem. You just crack this ash pan door here, and you know, within 5 minutes or whatever, it should, you know, raise it, you know, 10, 20, 30 degrees without any problems. I've done it before in my blueberry muffins baking video that we did. I don't need this open right now, so I'm going to close this down. So to recap, the normal operation of the stove and the safe operation of the stove is controlled with this knob, and you do not want to leave this ash pan door cracked open or the booster knobs open if you are not attending the stove, if you are not around, okay? Because it can easily overfire and become a dangerous situation if you leave those open unattended. Showing the operation of the thermostatic spring one more time. Okay, we're going to go down to, okay, that's about closed there. You hear that whistle? Okay, that means that you can know, even without looking, that means it's closed. And look where we're at. We're only at 5 on the dial, okay? And we're at, say, 380, 385 on the temperature gauge. And once we open this, say to 6, now the noise is going down a little bit. If we open it to 7, see it popping up, 8 and 9. Well, I think that does it for this video. Hey, if you like this video, please subscribe, and we'll be sure to shoot more cool videos, or in this case, hot videos for you. And until next time, this has been John Erickson with Christian Country Living, reminding you and your family once again to pray, plan, and prepare. We'll see you next time.